Hey, how you doing? Fatstick wanted to put together a piece with reference to mental health and mental well-being and the benefits of paddleboarding and SUP with mental health and mental well-being. Rather than write a big long blog, it seemed much better to speak to people and to make it real. So rather than a big blog, we have real people that we reached out to via Instagram. They came forward, they volunteered their stories, which are eye-opening. And it shows you, and it should show you, that mental health isn't something to be swept under the carpet, and it's not something to be ashamed of. Mental health is just as important, if not more important, than physical health. We should concentrate on our own mental health and the mental health of others and help people. So here it is, rather than me go on, here's their story.
Thank you for joining us, and this is your vlog, so I'm going to ask you questions and I'd love you to answer as honestly as possible, and if you want to tell me to shut up, you can.
Okay.
All right, so Ruth, so I'm going to ask the question, I think I know the answer to this, and that is, what do you paddle at the moment?
At the moment, nothing, because I haven't got a board.
Right, okay, noted. Ruben, noted. Right, I'll move on to the next one then, the next question, which is, if you weren't paddling, which obviously you're not at the moment, where would you be? What would you be doing to get you out and do stuff?
If I wasn't paddling?
Yeah.
I used to walk my dogs. I got two dogs. I got a Yorkshire Terrier and a Whippet, who are little rascals. So they've got lots of energy, so they need lots of walking. Especially the Yorkie, actually. He's got more energy than the Whippet, surprisingly.
More?
Yeah.
So you're a dog lover, dog person, but if you had a SUP, I'd take it they'd be SUP pups.
I would love to get them on the paddle. I don't think the Whippet would stand it. I think the Yorkie would. Just looking out the window, yeah.
You put the Yorkie under the bungee straps. It's small enough. No, don't do that. Just hold it in. No, fair enough. Right. So as I said earlier, the vlog's about mental health and paddleboarding and the mental well-being. So obviously, when did you start paddleboarding? Why? And what were you dealing with at the time?
The first time I paddleboarded, I was in Zante in Greece. Right.
Yeah, you were in Zante.
Yeah, the first time I paddleboarded, I was in Zante. I was in the middle of going through quite aggressive chemotherapy, radiotherapy, and I had like a 10-day break between my treatments. So my parents took me away just to kind of relax and have a rest and have a sleep. But the whole time that I was going through all the chemo and treatments and meetings, I just had a horrible, claustrophobic feeling, like everything was on top of me, and I just couldn't escape it. So I was just sitting on the beach one day, and there were loads of people paddleboarding along the length of the beach, and just watching them kind of calmed me down and took my mind off whatever was going on. So I decided to give it a go, and that hour in the water was just perfect. I forgot about what was going on. I felt calm. I felt happy. There was nobody fussing over me. There was no one checking my temperature, I'm not saying that was a horrible thing, because my mum was really fussing over me, but it was just adding to the claustrophobic feeling that I was having. And so that's the first time I paddleboarded. And then once my treatment stopped and I went into remission, which was good, I still had this horrible anxiety and panicky and horrible feelings. So I was going through a phase where I was getting really bad panic attacks. And I just decided to pull myself together and to go and find somewhere where I could go paddleboarding, try and get that feeling back, which I did. And I've been paddleboarding ever since. Not as much, obviously, as I'd like to, because I haven't got a board, but when I can, I'll paddleboard. Like, whenever I go abroad, I go paddleboard. It's the first thing. Like, in the holiday brochures, you have like the photographs of the resort. I always look in the photos, see if there's people paddleboarding on the beach.
That's right.
That's like a deal breaker for me when I go on holiday.
So basically, as I think you touched on it, and it was more the fact that it wasn't the feeling of paddleboarding; it was the detachment from life, or the, putting words in your mouth. But it seemed like you're saying that you not being around what was back there, and you being out on the water, being on a lake or on the sea, you are separate from what was reality, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. It's just because I am really claustrophobic. It's that feeling that there's nothing around you. You're just completely free.
It's an amazing story. I mean, I know that obviously you're a very modest person, but it is amazing. Your story is incredible. What you've been through, what you've gone through, and you are the reason I was so passionate about wanting to chat to you, is because I think there are a lot of people out there that may be going through similar things, and it's nice to hear that there's an end result. It doesn't matter what it may be, but there's a positive end result at some, be it paddleboarding or remission, or the fact you find a detachment. I think you're an amazing lady, and we are really grateful that you took your time to have a chat with us. The board we're going to talk about later. We are going to talk about later, but there's one thing I want to ask, and it's a really important one, which is, so for anyone who's going through mental health problems, or just not knowing what to do, or having that in that moment, what's your advice? What would you say? You suffered, you said, with anxiety and panic attacks, which I have. I know people. I've dealt with people in my old job who had those things, shall we say? And I know that a lot of people dismiss it. And they, like you said, pull yourself together, but I know you don't mean pull yourself together. It was you making the decision.
Yeah.
But if they are going through that, what would you say to them? What's your advice?
I think it's just focus on something that made you happy, and like you said, distraction. Try and remember something which distracted you and took your mind off it and made you feel happy and calm, and try and recreate that feeling. Like for me, it was the calmness of the paddleboarding. So, I decided that day I wanted to get that feeling back. I wanted to try and get a grip of what was going on and find that calm again. So I just went back to something that made me happy and took away the anxiety.
So dog walking's another thing. Without the boards, you have your dog. Yeah. So it's not about fat stick. It's about paddleboarding. So if you haven't got the boards, it is that happiness, that moment of happiness, whatever it may be. Focus on that. Yeah,
I mean, I think it's just generally water just makes me happy. Like you'll notice from my Instagram feeds, whatever. I always walk by water. I have to be by water. It's just a sense of calming that it gives me.
Yeah, it's got healing. No, it's not. It's healing properties. I believe it. I think it's good for the soul. I think the sound of it, the feel of it, being on it, all of it is indescribable until you've done it, until you've been there and have felt that connection, be it through your situation or just doing it from trying it out. I don't think you understand it till you've done it.
Yeah, I agree.
Right, Ruth, you're a legend. Thank you very much for your time. I know I really had to bend your arm to do it, so I appreciate you doing it. I really do. Thank you very much, and we'll chat about the board after this. Hi, James. Thanks for joining us. Obviously, we're doing a vlog with reference to mental health and how people have dealt with it, and how SUP has been a very big part of that, whether it's a fat stick board or any other board. So thank you very much for joining us. We're going to jump straight into the questions, if that's okay with you.
No worries.
Perfect. Right, I'm going to ask you the first one, just an icebreaker, is what do you paddle?
I paddle a fat stick bamboo 10'6". I'll get there in the end.
Yeah, there's a story behind that, isn't there? About you added to your basket or something you were talking about.
Yeah, I've had an inflatable for a while, which was a bit of an impulse purchase, and then I was pricing up how much it would be with the paddleboard and the matching paddle and the bag and everything. And then I accidentally clicked one-click checkout, and I was like, oh, well, I've been looking at it for a year, I might as well have it. So there we go.
Oh, thank goodness. Okay, well, I'm not going to argue with that as long as it's all good. Right, okay, so the next question, I think the answer's in the picture, but when you're not paddling, where are we going to find you?
Usually on boats or sort of dicking around with cameras, doing photography or playing music. So.
Okay, yeah, all good. So outside, inside, lots of bits and bobs. Epic. So going over the mental health side of things, and obviously the vlog is, as I said, to talk about mental health and how SUP has helped. So I'm going to ask the simple question is, what were you going through? What have you been through? And how did SUP help you?
Yeah, so it started years ago with nearly losing my leg in a cycling accident. And then pretty much to the day the following year, my wife was diagnosed with cancer. And then I was working in London in quite a high pressure job that I didn't really enjoy. So we moved down to the Isle of Wight and sort of got into paddleboarding just to try it because I thought it looked fun. And then I realised it's a really nice way of sort of burning off nervous energy, and it disconnects you from the world. It's you know, it's nice and relaxing. And then yeah, caved and bought a fat stick board as well, and I've been out pretty much every day on it. So,
Oh, mate, that's right. So going back just very briefly on it, when you say you nearly lost your leg, which obviously would have, it's obviously life-changing injuries as well, and obviously you'd have gone through, I guess, hospital procedures and all that kind of stuff to go with it. And obviously,
yeah, it was about a month in hospital. Oh, sorry.
A month in hospital.
Yeah.
Blimey. Okay. So that's kind of impacted mentally as well, isn't it? Not being able to move and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I mean the morphine was a sort of bonus, but.
And then you say that your wife was diagnosed with cancer. Is all okay now? Am I all right?
Yeah, all clear. But through the fallout of all of this, I've got horrendous anxiety, and then going through. So I sought help with the anxiety, and add to that, it's I'm on sort of investigating at the moment where I am on the spectrum. It turns out as well. So there's traits of autism that also exacerbate the anxiety. So for me, getting out on the board is the best way to just burn off that sort of energy that builds up in you. It's a nice way of getting out and sorting it. I
think you said it as well. I think it's the thing that I feel that helps me is the detachment. It's the leaving problems. Someone said it to me on a text message, on an Instagram message a little while ago. I can't remember who it was, but I will remember that they basically said it's like leaving your problems on the shore and heading out.
Definitely.
Yeah. Perfect. Right. Okay. So there's one thing I've got to ask that's really important, because the whole point of this is real people, real life situations, and how you dealt with it. So the question I would like to ask is, for anyone out there that's watching this or that watches this, what's your advice to them if they're dealing with mental health problems or issues? Speak to close friend or family first of all. Let them know what you're going through. I mean, even if it feels like it's just you on your own, it's not the case. There are thousands of people going through exactly the same thing. And after that, seek help. If you can get it through the NHS, or you can find a psychologist privately quite easily, and it's not too expensive, and get it sorted. Because if you can manage it, it's temporary. If you leave it alone, then it's going to be pretty much a daily thing for you. And although it's a big step to take, but it's a massive step in the right direction. It's positive. It's hard, but you'll get there. Amazing. So very much so. It's a case of it. Talk and let everyone know it's not. There's no stigma. There is a stigma, but there should be no stigma. It's no different to breaking your leg. I take it. Yeah, mental health is just as important as physical health. Perfect. Exactly. You nailed it. Right, James. I'm not going to take up any more time of you being on your boat, which looks absolutely horrific. I don't know how you deal with it. Terrible. You have a lovely day, and thank you very much for joining us. You too. Take care. Hi, James. Thanks for joining us. Obviously, we're doing a vlog with reference to mental health and how people have dealt with it, and how SUP has been a very big part of that, whether it's a fat stick board or any other board. So thank you very much for joining us. So we're going to jump straight into the questions, if that's okay with you. No worries. Perfect. Right, I'm going to ask you the first one, just an icebreaker, is what do you paddle? I paddle a fat stick bamboo 10'6". I'll get there in the end. Yeah, there's a story behind that, isn't there? About you added to your basket or something you were talking about. Yeah, I've had an inflatable for a while, which was a bit of an impulse purchase, and then I was pricing up how much it would be with the paddleboard and the
the matching paddle and the bag and everything in. And then I accidentally clicked one-click checkout, and I was like, oh well, I've been looking at it for a year, I might as well have it. So there we go.
Oh, thank goodness. Okay, well, I'm not going to argue with that as long as it's all good. Right, okay, so the next question, I think the answer's in the picture, but when you're not paddling, where are we going to find you?
Usually on boats or sort of dicking around with cameras, doing photography or playing music. So.
Okay, yeah, all good. So outside, inside, lots of bits and bobs.
Sure.
Epic. So going over the mental health side of things, and obviously the vlog is, as I said, to talk about mental health and how SUP has helped. So I'm going to ask the simple question is, what were you going through? What have you been through? And how did SUP help you?
Yeah, so it started years ago with nearly losing my leg in a cycling accident. And then pretty much to the day the following year, my wife was diagnosed with cancer. And then I was working in London in quite a high pressure job that I didn't really enjoy. So we moved down to the Isle of Wight and sort of got into paddleboarding just to try it because I thought it looked fun. And then I realised it's a really nice way of sort of burning off nervous energy, and it disconnects you from the world. It's nice and relaxing. And then caved and bought a fat stick board as well, and I've been out pretty much every day on it. So,
oh mate, that's right. So going back just very briefly on it, when you say you nearly lost your leg, which obviously would have, it's obviously life-changing injuries as well, and obviously you'd have gone through, I guess, hospital procedures and all that kind of stuff to go with it. And obviously,
it was about a month in hospital. Oh, sorry.
A month in hospital.
Yeah.
Blimey. Okay. So that's kind of impacted mentally as well, isn't it? Not being able to move and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I mean the morphine was a sort of bonus, but.
And then you say that your wife was diagnosed with cancer. Is all okay now? Am I all right?
Yeah, all clear. But through the fallout of all of this, I've got horrendous anxiety, and then going through. So I sought help with the anxiety, and add to that, it's I'm on sort of investigating at the moment where I am on the spectrum. It turns out as well. So there's traits of autism that also exacerbate the anxiety. So for me, getting out on the board is the best way to just burn off that sort of energy that builds up in you. It's a nice way of getting out and sorting it. I
think you said it as well. I think it's a thing that I feel that helps me is the detachment. It's the leaving problems. Someone said it to me on a text message, on an Instagram message a little while ago. I can't remember who it was, but I will remember that they basically said it's like leaving your problems on the shore and heading out.
Definitely.
Yeah. Perfect. Right. Okay. So there's one thing I've got to ask that's really important, because the whole point of this is real people, real life situations, and how you dealt with it. So the question I would like to ask is, for anyone out there that's watching this or that watches this, what's your advice to them if they're dealing with mental health problems or issues? Speak to close friend or family first of all. Let them know what you're going through. I mean, even if it feels like it's just you on your own, it's not the case. There are thousands of people going through exactly the same thing. And after that, seek help. If you can get it through the NHS, or you can find a psychologist privately quite easily, and it's not too expensive, and get it sorted. Because if you can manage it, it's temporary. If you leave it alone, then it's going to be pretty much a daily thing for you. And although it's a big step to take, but it's a massive step in the right direction. It's positive. It's hard, but you'll get there. Amazing. So very much so. It's a case of it. Talk and let everyone know there's no stigma. There is a stigma, but there should be no stigma. It's no different to breaking your leg, I take it. Yeah, mental health is just as important as physical health. Perfect. Exactly. You nailed it. Right, James, I'm not going to take up any more time of you being on your boat, which looks absolutely horrific. I don't know how you deal with it. Terrible. You have a lovely day, and thank you very much for joining us. Never once. Just jump straight into the questions, if that's all right with you.
Perfect.
Right.
Sounds good.
First question then is, what do you paddle?
Okay, so I've got my Pink Panther, my Fat Sticks Up. I'm in love with it. I think when we spoke before, I've been such an advocate with how much I love the pink, the bright colour. That's what I love in the water.
So it's an inflatable, yes?
Yeah, the inflatable, yeah.
Perfect. Okay, moving on then. So when you're not paddling, where are we going to find you?
You'll find me in the hills, most likely. If I'm not in the water, I will be on the hills. I've got my business that takes people up hiking, so that's my favourite thing to do,
Tell us a
not.
little bit about your business.
So I run a company called Excelsior Adventures, and the aim is to take people out hiking just onto the hills, just to try and help with their mental well-being and just help them get focused and use nature, especially up in Scotland. We've just got such beautiful hills and beautiful nature that it's so important to use that to better your mental well-being.
Right, and ultimately you're looking at in the long run being on the water also, aren't you? Not just in the hills.
Yeah, definitely. That's my future goal. For what was essentially hopefully to be this summer, but I think it's going to need to be pushed back now to next summer. Was to have like a kind of SUP department, have my own fleet, and just get people out on the water as well, because it's just such an important thing.
Next year, it's going to happen. Well, it might happen this year. You never know.
Definitely.
Great. I mean, so ultimately, the purpose of this vlog and blog is about mental well-being and mental health, and people dealing with mental health problems and how they came out of it or how they deal with it now, even if it's happening currently, and how SUP has helped that person. So I'll ask you directly. So what was happening in your life? What were you dealing with, and how did SUP help you?
Mm-hmm. So I kind of went through, it wasn't just like one sort of thing. I spoke quite openly about this in different podcasts and stuff, and on blogs on my website. But I was in an abusive relationship when I was younger, when I was like really, like I think when I was about 19 to 21. So I'm 26 now, and for the few years after that, it really badly affected me, and my mental health just declined and declined. Like after I left it, I think people think that you leave a relationship like that and you're like, oh, everything's good, you've left it, like well done, you're so strong. But there's so much like that comes after that, and it's just all these feelings that like you don't realize that you have to deal with, or that you've not been letting yourself deal with. That they come out, and they come out years and years like after everything's went down. So it was when I was about 24, like I really hit like a really low patch. I ended up on antidepressants. The doctors, every time I went in, I was on a waiting list for CBT. Every time I went into the doctors to say like I'm feeling worse, they just upped my medication, and it just got worse and worse and worse. Hit like the worst kind of point that I'd ever hit. And decided I wanted to start hiking. I just went out one day. I think my mum thought, like, she was so worried because I just got in my car, and I'm from Glasgow, like Paisley, got in my car and I drove to Malham Cove. So I drove all the way there. It took me about 2 or 3 hours. Just so down to Berkshire, that sort of area, and just that's what I wanted to do, and to spend the entire day, about 8 hours, just walking around to like from the Cove down to like the Gordale Scar, and just wandering through fields and just having like such a nice day, and drove back up. And on my way back up, I was driving through like the Scottish Lowlands, and I was like, this is amazing, like this, just all this greenery, it's so beautiful. And it just something like twigs, is this is what you need, this is the most important thing, is getting out into nature. So that really, really helped me, and I was doing like a lot better. And then I got introduced to paddleboarding, and it was just something else altogether. It was just that like focus that you have to have when you're out. It was that, it just helped so much. So yeah.
And that was SUP Glasgow, is that right?
Yeah, so it was actually a girl called Alex, so a Bonnie Travellers Inside Guide. She came on one of my walks, and she just was like, I was like, I'd love to try paddleboarding. Like I think I'd seen SUP Glasgow's picture on Instagram and went, I want to do that. And then about 3 weeks later, I was like putting my wetsuit on, like getting out on the water, and I was like, what is going on right now? Like I'm not gonna lie, I was terrified of water. This time, up until about a year ago, I didn't step foot in the water because I was scared of it. And then this time last year, I was paddleboarding, wakeboarding, surfing, like, and I just remember being like, what's happened to me? And it just, like that one time I went paddleboarding, like that first time, just took all these fears away that I'd had since I was a wee girl. And I was just like, everything felt, I don't know, I just felt fearless at one point. like even still, like I just felt absolutely fearless. I was running up hills, like up the cobbler, jumping up the top, like threading the needle, which was like apparently quite scary and dangerous. But I was just like, I can do this, and it was just like an absolute change in me, because of that one day paddleboarding.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned the bit about the water, because I wanted to talk to you about that. That was massively important, which is obviously you overcame your fear of water. That's incredible. I mean, again, I think the purpose of this is the fact that it's nice to have real people with real stories, and it's not as always, I say simple, I don't mean simple, but that it's a depression or an anxiety. There are lots of different layers to mental health, and the fact that your abusive relationship led you to leave, which is strong, but ultimately you were very vulnerable because of it, and that's how it affects you. And everyone is different, and that's what is cool is people like you guys that have come forward for this vlog have opened up. You know, you could say no, I'm not interested, but you haven't, and you help people. So I appreciate it, and I'm sure there's lots of others that appreciate it. Leading on from that, then, is my last question, and I think it's one of the most important questions, which is dealing what you've dealt with, been through what you've been through. Someone who's going through mental health problems, be they whatever, what would your best bit of advice be to them?
Like reach out. It sounds so cliche, but like talk to people, and get outside. I think I just tell people, like, see that one walk in nature can change the way you're thinking so drastically. See, even like on like my darkest days, like I've never felt sad at the top of a mountain or in the middle of a loch. And I think that's something that you can have the most negative thoughts in your head, but see, once you've climbed that mountain or you've paddled to the other side of that loch or that onto that island, like those thoughts are gone because you've been so focused on what you're doing. And that's just hugely important. So I know it's easier said than done to be like, oh, get outside, you'll be fine, that's all you need, because it's not. And obviously, like I was saying, I got put on medication, and that didn't work for me. I needed to come off it because it just wasn't for me. And I do think that doctors can be very quick to put people on medication. I think there's definitely instances that medication is the only option, but I think there should be stuff that you should try before taking that, because you can change your health so drastically just by kind of opening your eyes to like what's out there in the world. There's some amazing walks in Paisley that I didn't even know existed, and during lockdown I've been had the opportunity to kind of go and do those, and just seeing, like, I can see from one of the little walks in Paisley, I can see all the way over to the Cobbler and to Benny May and over to Ben Lomond's, and it's just incredible. And I didn't know those existed. I lived here for 26 years. And I think had I known they existed and been able to go out on those walks, I probably wouldn't have suffered some of the stuff that I did and had the negative experiences that I did, because I had that outlet. So I think it's really, really important to just try and push yourself to try these different experiences.
So, I mean, as you said, I think quite rightly said, is the focus with it, be it on a board or on a walk or or heading for a goal or a destination. It's you're finding something positive that you do, that you love, and you're embracing that and focusing on that as opposed to the negative side of things. Is that about right?
Yeah, definitely.
Perfect. Well, just thank you very much. One last thing, I know that it's probably by the time people see this, it'll be over and done with, but I'd love you just to chat to me just very briefly about what you're doing on Sunday, which would be, what date's that going to be? That's the 17th?
Yeah, on Saturday I want to say 15th. Am I talking about? No, Saturday 16th.
Saturday 16th.
I don't know what day it is. Saturday the 16th. I'm running an event called the Climb Collective, where I'm getting loads of people together to climb at least 500 stairs. And the goal is to climb at least roughly about 25,000 stairs collectively, which would be the same amount to climb Mount Kilimanjaro. So that is the goal for Saturday, and we're doing that to raise some money for firstly for the Excelsior Adventures Charity Support Fund, so that we can offer Excelsior Adventures events to charities once lockdown is over, so that we can be reaching out to those that are vulnerable and in positions that need the support from nature and from getting out there. But also 50% will be going to SAMH, which is the Scottish Association for Mental Health, which is a really big mental health charity in Scotland, and it does a lot of work and it helps a lot of people. That's what we're doing.
Perfect. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you so much for telling us and opening up and trusting us with it. So you've been a legend. So Jen, absolutely fantastic talking to you.
Thank you very much for having me. Thank you.
I want to start off with there's 4 simple questions, and the first question is a very easy one to start with, which is, what do you paddle?
I've got a Job Yara inflatable.
Cool. And why an ice up and not a rigid one?
I live in a flat at the moment, so I've got no space for a rigid at the moment, but in the future, definitely.
So okay. So, but the ice up fits your needs, yes?
Yeah. And it's easy to move around within transport and all that good stuff.
Take it on holiday?
Not yet.
It's on the list.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, so when you're not paddleboarding, where would we find you?
Hate to say, gym, trying to bake cakes, not at the same time. Just generally just reading, enjoying, hopefully being out and about soon as well.
So
it's over.
Yeah, so the gym and the cake baking type things, I know they're 2 very different things, but they are things that you enjoy, I take to occupy you.
Yeah, pretty much. Gyms obviously can't open at the moment, but yeah, just nice to stay healthy. Benefits of exercise and stuff. And
baking cakes, eating them, going to the gym, burning them off.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, balance. Got balance.
Bit of balance. All right. Okay. So as I spoke about earlier, which is the fact that this vlog is about mental health and the benefits of paddleboarding, how paddleboarding has helped. Doesn't matter what board you're on. So I'm going to ask you, Chi, what were you going through, and how did paddleboarding and SUP help you?
I think it's just sort of work. Just when things got a little bit too much work-wise, just overthinking things maybe and not being able to switch off. And I think just getting on a paddleboard just helps you sort of detach from all that. And it's very calming, being on the water, very sort of soothing, really. Sort of helps you sort of forget with what's going on in your day-to-day for even half an hour or so. It's brilliant.
So I guess you just nailed it, which is the fact that it helps you forget things. I mean, so when you paddle, how does that make you feel? When you're on the water, how does that make you feel?
Really happy just to be out and outside. I guess in terms of like you set a path and you just sort of go down it, and then you realise actually not. By the time you finish, you're not everything. You've sort of maybe the stresses or pressures of work and stuff you forget about. So it's just a good place to be.
Yeah. Okay. No, well, I get it. And that's exactly it. So basically, it's although not diagnosed as such with a form of anxiety or depression or PTSD, your work itself is the thing that was weighty or weighty on your mind as such. Is that right?
Yeah, I think it's just modern. I think it's just it's a horrible thing to say. It's just the modern pressures, isn't it? The modern life stresses. So yeah, it just helps me with if you've got a lot going on at work, a lot of deadlines, a lot of different requests coming in, and a lot of being asked for you. Sometimes just getting on a board and sort of being able to switch off for half an hour, being able to sort of just put that out of your mind, and then it helps you. And sometimes I find when I come back on land, it's like, okay, it helps me sort of problem solve as well and rationalize things a bit better. So being on the water, it's calming. And then I was like, oh, didn't know how to fix that half an hour ago, or didn't know how to deal with that problem half an hour ago. I can do that now. So it helps me sort of clear my mind as well. Yeah,
no, I get it, mate. It's brilliant. And that's exactly the part. As much as it's lovely to highlight the fact that there are these things that are unpleasant and hard to deal with, that day-to-day stresses, be they working in a supermarket, through to being a doctor, through to being a taxi driver or a stay-at-home parent, they all have their own levels of stress. And I guess what you're describing
Absolutely.
is the fact that you get the opportunity to release that stress through paddleboarding, is what you found.
Yeah, spot on.
Perfect. Okay, mate. Well, that's it. I mean, it is only a very short interview, but there's one thing I want to ask you, and this is really important because this is the bit that I want people to take away with them. I want to hear your story. You're a real person. You have real stresses and strains, but you also have real positives. But from my point of view, I'd like to ask you if there's anyone that watches this that thinks they're dealing with, so for your example, work-related stress or anything else. What's your top tip? What would a piece of advice would you give them?
First of all, talk to someone, anyone, and also get outside, get fresh air. It really does help, whatever that is, whether it's on the paddleboard or running or walking. It does help.
Perfect. And I think you just nailed it, which is the fact that if you open up and trust someone, and then after that, the exercise and the natural body chemicals will help you kick through it.
Yeah, exactly. Definitely.
Perfect. Chi, you've been a legend. Again, thank you very much for your time. You've been amazing. And I really appreciate you taking the time to chat to us.
No worries.
So there you go, 4 different people, 4 different stories. It goes to show you that there are lots of people out there dealing with lots of different things. And it's not something you should worry about. If you are dealing with anything from the simple stresses of life through to feeling anxious, worried, overthinking or depressed, talk to people. There are lots and lots of charities out there that are willing to listen and give you help, not just listen to you. Solent Mind is one of them, one that's very close to my heart, and the Mind charity itself is nationwide, but there are lots. So talk, open up, trust people, and I hope you enjoyed the video.